Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ole Walls! Let's get fucking listening, baby! Yes!
Welcome to Ole Walls house. It's me. It's your man. It's your main man. It's Ole Walls. And I'm back with you, ladies and gentlemen. Episode number 96 of Ole Walls house coming your way. First of all, I want to say thank you, everybody. Appreciate you guys for coming back for another week, so thank you very much. Appreciate all your support, everybody watching, listening, hanging out, doing all the stuff. So thank you guys so much. That housekeeping, we always do it. If you guys could, please rate, please review, please comment, please subscribe, and please share. I would appreciate it to the end of this earth. Thank you very much. Fun show coming. Halfway into the NFL season. Coming down to the wire in college football. Got to talk some Flyers. Got some passing thoughts. Thanksgiving talk. Bob Knight. PGA Tour news. So a whole lot of stuff in this episode. Just me, your main man, going solo. So before we get to it, Liquid IV. This stuff isn't only for people training for championships and elite athletes and people doing marathons and shit like that. Because your boy sure as hell ain't doing all that. But if you're looking for proper, functional hydration, Liquid IV is the place to go. It's the #1 powered hydration brand in the country. I love it. I use it every day. The packages are great. I like it for travel. And one stick in 16 ounces of water, 2 times faster hydration, and more efficient than water alone. 5 essential vitamins, B3, B5, B6, B12, and you got it, vitamin C. 3 times the electrolytes of leading sports drinks. Quality ingredients. Non-GMO, free from gluten, dairy, and soy. And Liquid IV believes that equitable access to clean and abundant water is the foundation of a healthy world. And they've donated over 39 million servings in 50-plus countries. So here's what you do. You go to liquidiv.com or the link in the show notes below. If you want 20% off, you use promo code OWH. O for Ole, W for Walls, H for House. Promo code OWH, liquidiv.com. Go get it done. All right, on to the show. Week 9 in the NFL, the National Football League, and the Green Bay Packers are victorious and move to 3-5. The Packers beat a just hapless, just terrible LA Rams. No Matt Stafford, he's out injured. Brett Rippon is leading the Rams into the famed Lambeau Field, and it was no good for the Rams. It was a sloppy game to begin with. The Packers were fumbling again. Mr. Butterfingers himself, Aaron Jones, let another one loose. Sloppy game. Two bad football teams. And we've reached the point where wins or losses almost, I think. I think if we're being honest with ourselves here as Packer fans in that world, wins or losses right now, I think. There is a hell of a stretch coming up here for the Packers. They're going to face the Steelers in Pittsburgh. They're going to host the Chargers. They're going to go to the Lions on Thanksgiving on a short week, and then come out of that, and the Chiefs come to town for Sunday Night Football. Those are 4 games that are pretty losable. Obviously we know how it went against the Lions at the start of the year. Chiefs had a big win. We'll get to them more later here, but I guess there's a couple, you could see him sneaking one out against the Steelers and sneaking one out against the Chargers. I don't know. It's a weird spot. I say losses or wins, and then you look at the schedule, and before I get to that, let's say this. They moved back 2 spots in the draft, in the projected draft order. Week's not done yet, but they went from 5th back to 7th. I thought it was going to be worse. I thought 3 to 5 spots was what it could have done. But they would have jumped up a little bit. I can look and see what a 2-6 team looks like as opposed to a 3-5 team. 2-6 is gonna be. Yeah, they would have been 6th, though they actually didn't move too much as I thought they were gonna. They were 5th, but now they're back to 7th. So, I say all that, and you look back at the season. They lost games to the Falcons in a game they absolutely choked. The Falcons scored 13 points in the fourth quarter. That's a game they should have won. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. They should have beat the Denver Broncos, and they probably should have beat the Raiders as well. They stole one against the Saints, so, toss that. So, just flip 2 wins, and all of a sudden they're 5-3, which I think is pretty realistic. They should have, you know what? Just remove the Falcons games and the Saints games because they kind of stole one. I mean, there was a missed field goal at that Falcons game. And throw the Saints game away because they stole that too. Or with the Saints. The Saints was the missed field goal. Either way. Throw those 2 out because they're a real tight one. They also lost to the Raiders by less than a touchdown, 4 points. And then the Broncos by 2 points. 2 bad teams. The Raiders have kind of found new life in a coaching change. There was a team meeting where everybody aired it all out. But the Packers could, and I'm not a guy who's out here who thinks more of this team than what it is. If anything, I probably think the team's worse than it's being portrayed. They could pretty easily be 5-3, and I don't know, 6-2 if all the breaks go their way. They weren't going to beat the Lions, and they got the shit kicked out of them by the Vikings, who were hot at the time. I mean, 5-3, 6-2, that's wild. And then you're thinking, man, if you could steal a game between the Steelers and the Chargers, you get to 6-3. And you throw the other way, you're 6-6. But then you look at the back end of this Packers schedule. The Giants stink. The Bucs have lost, I think, 4 in a row now. The Panthers are not good. Who knows what's going to happen with the Vikings? They caught some magic in a bottle this week. And then the Bears stink. So there's 4 games at the end of the season that are very winnable. If you were 5-3 at this point, you got to 6. I mean, this is a team that could have been looking at 10 wins. Now, at this point, you got to steal the next 2 against the Steelers and Chargers. If those games are losses, I mean, it's tank mode. I know it's kind of been tank mode from the start, in my opinion, but, that sinks it in. If you come out of Steelers and Chargers and you're 3-7 and not 5-5, oofta. And then you go Lions, Chiefs. And then you can be 3-9 real fast. And then you're going to win 4 fucking games at the end. See, my biggest worry is they steal a game between the Steelers and Chargers, lose to the Lions and Chiefs, and now all of a sudden, like I said, you're 4-8, and then they win some of these games coming home against, Giants, Bucks, Panthers, Vikings. It's 5 games at the end of the year, by the way. I can't count. Bears. And all of a sudden they finish 7-10, 8-9, instead of just, sucking. And then, we kind of get locked into another year of this next year. So, who knows? I don't know. I don't know what to think, man. I mean, it's 1 game. The Rams are terrible. All of that said, I expect, TJ Watt is going to fucking live in the backfield on Sunday. I expect them to lose the games to the Steelers, to the Chargers, to the Lions, to the Chiefs before we get to those last 5 games. I'm fully expecting a 3-9 team coming down the stretch. And I still don't see them winning 5 straight games at the end of the year. I think you're looking at 6-11, 5-12. 5-12 be more preferable. I'm in the belief that we need picks. We need high picks, and we got to do things. We got to do lots of things. Just elsewhere, just in watching the Packers, Romeo Doubs has looked pretty good in spots. And I just keep thinking to myself, if he could consistently catch the football and hang on to the football, he's got some potential to do something, to be a good player. Jaden Reed has shown some potential. I think he has shown that he could be a piece moving forward with Dobbs. The catch is, what has happened to Christian Watson? He's been banged up. He fell over and broke his entire upper body, was listed as things that were an issue after he tried to go get a catch. And I mean, he's just disappeared. I think he caught a pass at one point. It was his first pass reception over 20 yards all year. Excuse me. And just like, he's just disappeared. And how much of it is Love? Like, Love just can't throw the ball downfield. The play where Christian Watson got hurt, he was wide open, and there was a way to throw the ball out to the edge, kind of maybe hang him back a little bit and keep it away from the defender. But he threw him into the middle of the field, overthrew him right into a defender. And it's like, man, he was there. He was there. So I'm still not sold on Love. That said, and again, this was the Rams, and the Rams are bad. Like, without Matt Stafford, this is a terrible football team, and you can see that. And they're not a great football team with Matt Stafford. Let's get that straight. So that's there. But the formula for what the Packers did on Sunday is the formula to how this team should have been. Aaron Jones got 20 carries. He got some more touches out of the pass game. Ran the hell out of the ball. The defense played good, again, against the Rams. But, again, this is the formula. Love, I think he was 20 of 26. Like, that's how you be successful with this team, is you run the shit out of it, and Love doesn't throw it over 30 times. Like, there's none of this, we're chucking the ball deep 40, or not even deep, we're just trying to throw it 40 times a game. Yeah, Love, 20-26, 228 for one touchdown. Again, I'm not sold on him I at all. At all! But that was the formula. That was the formula. Haven't spoke to you people out there in the world since the trade deadline. What an odd trade deadline. Like, I mentioned Aaron Jones, Preston Smith, Rasul Douglas, Keyshawn Nixon. One trade. Rasul Douglas. They're like, oh, it was an offer too good to refuse. It was a third rounder. And I know that you don't get a lot for a lot of players in the NFL outside of like quarterbacks, essentially. But if you're willing to deal Rasul Douglas, who you have under contract next year, isn't a huge cap hit, why not more? Like, why not be aggressively shopping a little more? Like, there's teams out there like that would want to do things. Like, the Eagles and the 49ers are always trying to do something. There's other teams. The Cowboys probably want to add some pieces. I don't know. It felt weird to me. Felt weird. I think that's about the end of the Packers stuff, so we can kind of roll into the rest of the NFL. We started Sunday, good old fashioned, bright and early. Chiefs and Dolphins. Chiefs bounce back after a little bit of concern. The Chiefs are back, man. They're okay. Like, we don't need to panic. The panic button does not need to be hit as we come into a stellar showdown next Monday night. The Chiefs and the Eagles, and it's not next Monday night. It's 2 Mondays from now, the Chiefs and the Eagles, so that the Chiefs get a bye coming off the game over in Germany. Do the Dolphins also have a bye? They sure do. That's the smart thing to do, obviously. But yeah, so the Chiefs, we're okay. We're okay. If you're a Chiefs fan out there, I think you're breathing fine. Like, no need to get all worked up. You get a bye week, you get the Eagles, then you go to the Raiders. Then you got the Packers. You got a nice stretch there. You're going to be just fine before you kind of finish up with some tough teams late in the season. You got the Bills, Bengals, and Chargers in the last 5 weeks. I keep saying the Chargers like they're a good team, and I don't know, though. Maybe they're not. Like, we got the Chargers tonight here shortly on Monday Night Football, heading to New York. We'll see what we see out of Rodgers tonight. Is Rodgers going to be out on the field? The second Monday night appearance for the Jets this year. The last one, obviously, Rodgers goes down. But yeah, we'll see. Well, I keep saying like the Chargers are good. They're 3-4. Like, if they don't beat this Jets team, maybe they're not very good. Maybe they have bigger issues. But back to the Chiefs and Dolphins. As we can take a breath on the Chiefs, what about the Dolphins, man? We've talked about this before. They're 6-3 now. They're in a good spot. They're atop their division. They've got a game lead on the Bills. They got the Jets out there following them around too, but they haven't beat an opponent with a winning record since week 3 of last year. In 2 weeks, they're going to play the Raiders, who could be a 500 team by that point. Then after that, they're going to play the Jets, then the Commanders. All of those teams can be like around 500, but could all be under 500 by that point. I mean, what's the next, surefire? Cowboys, Ravens, Bills at the end of the year. And Bills, man, I mean, they're playing a tough schedule, but I mean, those 3 teams at the end of the year. So you kind of got to question. At least I'm questioning. Are the Dolphins for real? I mean, I know, again, you can only beat who's in front of you, right? But when push comes to shove recently, they're not beating the better teams in front of you. So something to think about. Obviously, they scored 70, but they played a tight game with the Patriots. They got their asses kicked by the Bills. They hung around with the Eagles, but it's something to consider. Another thing to consider is the fact that the Baltimore Ravens are a good goddamn football team. Really good, right? Like, they just, again, embarrass a team that is supposed to be good. Destroy the Seahawks. Boat race season for them. Boat race season when they play these good teams. I mean, I'm saying the good teams. Like, do we know if the Lions and the Seahawks are good? I don't know. But they've been on a roll. They had a kind of a tough start. They lose to the Colts early in the season. They play a tight one with a banged-up Bengals team. Drop one to the Steelers. But then since they dropped that game to the Steelers, good win over the Titans. Smoke the Lions. Escape the Cardinals. Cardinals play everybody tough, though. And then just boat race the Seahawks. So, I'm buying on the Ravens. I am buying Ravens stock. And I know I've gone wishy-washy with them a couple of times this year. And I wonder about Lamar sometimes. But I think we're good. I think I'm buying. Going to find out a lot next 2 weeks. Browns, Bengals. Divisional matchups. Both at home. Bengals, Ravens is Thursday night in a couple weeks. So, a good Thursday night game. How about it? So, the Seahawks, though. The Seahawks. Are the Seahawks good? Is Geno good? Is Geno right and back or no? They, are still tied for the lead in their division with the 49ers. I mean, I think we all think the 49ers are a better team. But Geno hasn't been the player he was last year. So is that kind of an outlier year? He wasn't a great player, going into that year. Another team with a question mark. And hey, having a question mark at this point in the season isn't necessarily a terrible thing. I wouldn't say it's a good thing, but it's not a bad thing. Like, there's teams without question marks. It's the Rams. It's the Packers. It's the Bears. It's the Giants. You go over to the AFC. It's the Patriots. The Broncos, who have won 2 in a row and are 3-5 all of a sudden. But I think they're still pretty bad. The AFC South isn't a great division. But there are some exciting things going on. So, not necessarily a bad thing. Biggest game of the weekend, probably Eagles-Cowboys. I started off the game saying, God damn, the Eagles are a good fucking football team. And then later in the game, I was questioning some play calls. They got pinned on the 1 inch line. They tush-pushed their way out of it. The next thing you know, we're dropping back. Like, your line is good. Run the ball a couple fucking times to get yourself out of there. Fuck. You're just getting 3 yards on the tush-push. Fucking tush-push four fucking times. Pick up 12 yards. And now you got some actual breathing room. Ended up putting that back. So, questionable play calling, I thought, at the end. And man, oh man, did the Cowboys have their chances. Obviously, the touchdown that's overturned and, the guy's down at the inch line, there was, an argument to be made that could be considered pass interference for sure. For sure. And then, another one, and this had, ripple effect later in the game. Dak steps out of bounds. You think he gets a 2-point conversion. He gets it, but not so fast, my friend, as Lee Corso would say. Hold the phones. He was out of bounds. He had stepped out of bounds on the 2-point conversion. Oh, so instead of being down 3, they're down 5. Now they got to score a touchdown at the end. Oh, and they throw it short of the end zone at the very end. But, hey, they're in field goal position at that point. They can send it to overtime. The Eagles' defense has to play a little different. Maybe the Eagles' defense makes a mistake. They bust one. Oh, so the Eagles escape. Coach Jeffy wants to cut Dak Prescott. I might pump the brakes there. I don't think Dak's the biggest problem. But it's weird, man. The Cowboys are stuck not being able to get over the hump. 5-3 this year, and obviously trailing in the NFC East. Dropped a weird one to the Cardinals. Get just destroyed by the 49ers. Not the biggest worry in the world. And then lose one to the Eagles here. They've got a decent little stretch here of some decent games before we circle back around to them on Sunday Night Football in December with the Eagles. And then they have a stretch of Eagles, Bills, Dolphins, Lions. Wowza. Bank up some wins in the next 4 weeks. Excuse me. Yeah, so bank up some wins in the next 4 weeks because it's going to be tough at the end of the year for them. Bengals, talk about a team I am buying on. The Cincinnati Bengals, they get a convincing win over the Bills last night on Sunday Night Football. Funny enough, they are technically dead last in their in the division behind the Browns, Steelers, and Ravens. But is it possible? What is the? I saw something. I think there's a playoff standings. Did I save that screenshot? Like a playoff picture? No, of course I didn't. Why would I do that? That would just make too much sense for me to do that. Let me see AFC playoff picture. But yeah, they're back, man. Joe Burrow's healthy, and that's the deal. And they're a good football team. They are currently the last team in the 7th spot. That means all 4 teams of the AFC North are currently in the playoffs to go with the Dolphins, Jaguars, Ravens, and Chiefs. How about that? Pretty wild. Pretty cool. Some other fun games from around the league. Josh Dobbs finds himself playing quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings. He got into town on Wednesday. He leads the comeback for them as they secure a victory over the Falcons and move to 5-4, staying within shouting distance in the NFC North of the Lions. So they're hanging around. In probably the most fun game of the day and maybe of the year so far, the Houston Texans and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have just an absolute barn burner. The Texans have a running back kicking field goals, not just kicking extra points. He's kicking field goals. Baker Mayfield is leading the Bucs down the field with 46 seconds left. I got the Bucs I got them getting 2.5. I'm like, yes, 46 seconds. Yes, they got to go score a touchdown. Not happening. It's happening. C.J. Stroud leads them right back down the fucking field and scores with 10 seconds to spare. C.J. Stroud threw for 470 yards, breaking the rookie passing record for Andrew Luck. C.J. Stroud is having a hell of a year. He's the runaway favorite for Rookie of the Year, and just playing fantastic football. And good for him. He's got the Texans to 500 after a start that looked like it wasn't going to be great. They're just a couple games back of the Jags down there in that AFC South. Don't write them off. Don't write them off. But the all-time greatest cover of my life, and I've had these things go the other way. Bucks getting 2.5. Score makes it 39-37. They're going to come in and kick the extra point, obviously, right? Make it a 3-point game. No, they're not. They are not going to do that because they don't have a kicker, and they don't want something weird to happen with a block kick returned the other way. So what do? My guys from the Houston Texans, they take a knee, they give up a free point, and I cover the 2.5. Absolutely fantastic. First time in a while I got one of those to go my way. Just beautiful. Just B-E-A. Beautiful. Just run through the scoreboard. Steelers Thursday night get a win over the Titans. Again, the Steelers, a team I just don't think's for real every week, and then they find ways to win, despite Kenny Pickett. Bears lose the Saints. They still stink. Commanders beat the Patriots. Patriots still stink. Colts beat the Panthers. The Panthers still stink. Brown beats the Cardinals. Cardinals still stink. Raiders, new coach. Beat the Giants, who, you want to guess? Still stink. So, ran through the AFC playoff picture. Let's jump over to the NFC. Eagles in that one spot. Your hosts in the first round would be the Lions, 49ers, and Saints. And then you have the Seahawks, Cowboys, and Vikings filling out the rest of the playoff picture. So halfway through the NFL season, it's sad that it's already halfway over, but gosh, it's been fun. It's been fun so far. So pretty cool. And let's go over to the college football world. The pigskin played by the Utes, the gentlemen in school, the student athletes. What a fucking bullshit term. So, yeah, the student athletes are out there. Texas, let's start with Texas. They survive. Kansas State was busting ass to get back in that game and send it to overtime. And, without Quinn Ewers, they didn't quite look the same. And, but survive in advance. And you know what? They are in a good spot in the Big 12 now because Bedlam happened down there in Stillwater in the Oklahoma State-Oklahoma matchup. I'm a man. I'm 40. Mike Gundy leads OK State over with a big win over Oklahoma, and Oklahoma's national title hopes are now dashed. You would have to think, maybe a two-loss Big 12 team gets in if they beat Texas in the in the title game. Let me see what the Big 12 standings look like. Who else they're going to have to contend with? Well, Oklahoma State's out ahead of them now. Also, Kansas and Kansas State at 4-2, as well as West Virginia and Iowa State. Quite the upper half of the Big 12. Cincinnati not having a good time at 0-6. 0-6. Georgia was tested. Can we talk about the ridiculous fact that Ohio State was ranked number 1 ahead of Georgia this year? Obviously I just watched Ohio State play Penn State, and they beat Penn State. I don't want to say easily, but they were in control of that game for the most part. And it's a good win for them, but it was a home win. I just don't know how we put them above Georgia. I just feel like Georgia's been more tested along the way. But Georgia gets a test from Mizzou, and they survive that. They move on. Also, as you go around kind of that top 5, Washington gets tested by USC in a game where nobody was interested in playing any fucking defense. So they win in advance. Again, elsewhere that top 5, 6 range. Michigan wins, Florida State wins, Ohio State, Oregon all win. So, everything progresses. We got a couple of teams here on the edge of something. If all those guys win out, somebody's got to stay home. Oregon and Washington almost assuredly going to play each other again. Can Florida State hang on and finish out the year undefeated. Michigan and Ohio State are going to play each other. So a lot of fun stuff down the end. And Alabama is not going quietly into the night themselves. They lead the SEC West and have a matchup set for themselves with Georgia. If they can win out, they are playing. Ole Miss is playing Georgia this week. So I mean, if Alabama, if Georgia wins that game, it gives Alabama a two game cushion in the standings over Ole Miss, as well as, sorry, I just flipped away from here to look at some, as well as LSU, who they also have a victory over. Who does Alabama play next week? But yeah, they're hanging around. They're just hanging around. Head to Kentucky. They head to Kentucky. What's the rest of Alabama's schedule? We got to play some bullshit team in here soon. Yes, Chattanooga, Kentucky, Chattanooga, and then at Auburn, who is kind of down this year, it appears. So, what else happened? Clemson with an upset over Notre Dame. So Notre Dame now falls to 3 losses. Any outside hope that they could sneak into the playoff now, for sure, gone. It was probably pretty close to gone to begin with, but for sure gone now. And then, Penn State, tough one. Maryland, tough game. But, it's, as we move to the Penn State portion of this discussion, of this program, it all comes down to this year. Failed test number 1 with Ohio State, and test number 2 is here. It's Michigan. Michigan's coming to Beaver Stadium. It's a home game. You wish that game could be a night game and could be the whiteout, but Fox likes the, that big noon setup. So that's the deal. You got to deal with that. So 8-1, the undefeated Michigan Wolverines are coming in. By the way, before we get into that, while we're on Michigan, should I care more about a dude stealing signs like in the stadium? Like, if that's the way I understand it, a guy is going to the stadium, watching the other team, and coming back and being like, okay, when they do this, it leads to this play. Why am I supposed to care? I don't know. Like, seriously, like, why? I don't care. Like, if they're, like, videotaping their practice, Spygate style, like, yeah, now I care. If they're, like, stealing headsets things, but that's not how it works in college. But, like, you're telling me this big, bad, world-ending scandal for Michigan is that they sent a guy to other stadiums to watch the game and then report back. Like, if that's what happened, and that, I haven't done a huge deep dive into it, but if that's it, I don't care at all. Do not care. Like, that is dumb. And if you're trying to get me excited over that, sorry, not happening. But anyway, back to Penn State. Number 3, Michigan, coming to town. They need some craziness to happen, even if they do pull this off. But, like, this is your moment. Again, we had the same discussion last time. And I talk about how James Franklin's overrated. He can't win the big one. This team's, is it time to fire him and just go and try a different strategy? He can't coach. He can recruit, but he can't coach for shit. I can be shut the fuck up really fast. Just win this game. Win this game. Pray to God Michigan can beat Ohio State, and then what is it we need? And then you got to get, it basically comes down to 6 teams. I found it. Okay. So if Penn State can beat Michigan, Michigan can beat Ohio State, 3-way tie atop the Big Ten East, it comes down to the record of the Big Ten West opponents. So for Michigan, it's Nebraska, Minnesota, Purdue. Ohio State is Purdue, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. And then Penn State, nobody like the other, Illinois, Iowa, Northwestern. So, we root for Purdue to lose. We need both of those things to happen. And you root for Minnesota to lose. Wisconsin and Nebraska would be nice touches too, but Purdue and Minnesota are, those are the cherry on top because they cover both guys. And then you need Illinois, Iowa, Northwestern to start pulling off some wins. Now, you don't have to worry about any of that shit if Penn State can't get it done. And I'm telling you right now, I don't think they get it done. I don't think they get it done. What's the line? I think the line's like 3.5 right now. 4.5. Penn State's getting 4.5 points at home. Take Michigan, man. They're going to cover. They're going to win by 2 touchdowns. And Penn State goes 10-2. We'll go to some New Year's Six bowl. We'll play, the worst, there's usually bowl predictions. Let's look. It's like we'll play the worst conference champion that didn't make the playoffs, and that's how it'll go. Let's see if they have bowl projections right here. All right, you gotta go down to the bottom because they start. Florida Gators. They even gonna make a bowl? What are these coaching changes? Transfer portal. How far did I go? What did I do? I thought I was looking at bowl. Peach Bowl. Yeah, Ole Miss, Penn State. Oh, Jesus, fucking Ole Miss is gonna fucking dominate them if that happens. Huh. Okay. Whatever. Again, just win. Just win, and then guys like me have to shut the fuck up. Even if you win and don't get into the Big Ten East, Big Ten title game because of a tiebreaker, I still have to shut the fuck up. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think I'm going to be on here next week with the same old song and dance. I haven't worked my hopes up this time. I'm just going to be like, hey, told you. Prove me wrong. For once in my life, Penn State, prove me wrong. Hockey time. Flyers. Interesting week. Ups and downs. Highs and lows. Peaks and valleys. Lots happening. Monday night. They played the Carolina Hurricanes. Really tough, man. Had the lead. Had a 2-1 lead at one point. Just a game that the Hurricanes they're a force of nature out there, man. Like, the way they play hockey, they are aggressive and bringing pressure at all times. Like, just bringing pressure. They're aggressive on power play defense. Like, it's a different brand of hockey than I'm used to watching the Flyers, who obviously have not been good the past couple of years. And it was fun trying to see the Flyers match that. Oh my gosh, I am just smoking my boom arm here. So the Carolina Hurricanes, they pull one out. They scored in like the last 4 or 5 minutes. I can't exactly remember. But it was a good showing from the Flyers. And like I said, they're tough, man. I mean, I know they're only like 6-4 right now, but that level of energy they bring. And I remember listening to Brady Shea. It's like SKJIE. He's a defenseman for the Hurricanes on like the Spit and Chicklets podcast like a year or two ago. And he talked about how their coach, Rob Brindamore, is like one of the most fit, in shape person ever. So it's like, if your coach is that much of a badass and like in that greatest shape, like it's tough to not be in that shape like on the team as well. So, excuse me again. Oof. I'm dealing with something in my throat here. But yeah, some tough loss to them. And then they just follow it up a couple days later on Wednesday and just get the break speed off them by the Buffalo Sabres. And then they flip that around on Friday and just smack the shit out of the Buffalo Sabres right back in one of these weird NHL things where they do back-to-backs. And, it was just a peak and a valley. A peak and a valley. A valley and a peak. And then, we followed up on Saturday, a back-to-back. Obviously, tough thing to do in hockey, back-to-back, but just got the ever-loving hell beat out of us by the Kings. Cal Peterson was in the goal that night. So, with what's his face? Can't think of it right now. Oh gosh, he came up a little lame the other night. Oh gosh, why can't I think of his name? Hang on, let me look back. I'll find him. Carter Hart had an injury, so I think it appears he hasn't played. So, yeah. So just ups and downs. I think they are kind of regressing back to what they're gonna be. They kind of got a little hot start. They're 4-1 now. Middle of the bottom of the pack. Yeah, bottom of the pack here in the Metropolitan Division. They're getting outscored. 5-6-1. 5-6-1. I saw 4-4-1 at some point. That must have been what they started the week. So 11 points. That's 6 back at the division lead, which obviously is going to become a larger and larger gap, no doubt here. What are they in the playoff race? Where would they fall in the wild card? 12 points, just a point back of that, but yeah, it won't be good. But they've been competitive in games, which has been nice. West Coast swing coming up this week, so your boy won't be seeing much, if at all, of any of these games. The San Jose Sharks tomorrow, who stink, I believe. I believe they are terrible. Yeah, they haven't won a game yet, so let's not be the first one. Then they got the Ducks and the Kings, who obviously just beat the shit out of us. I don't think the Ducks are great, or am I? The Ducks are okay. The Ducks are pretty solid, actually. And then the Kings, about the same, a little better than the Ducks, maybe even. So yeah, that's Flyers for this week. Time for some passing thoughts. First of all, got a spike in listeners in Singapore of all places. It's always the weirdest thing when I have listeners spotted all over. One of our listeners was trying to take credit for it, and I listed out that there's over 26 different places that have been listening. He hasn't been to Singapore lately, so he's not taking credit for that. So for those of you coming to us live from Singapore, welcome to Ole Walls house. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Let me know if you guys are listening still, or maybe you just were buzzing through a bunch of episodes and now you said, fuck that, this guy sucks. Possible. But if you're still hanging around, shoot me a message, olewallshouse@gmail.com. Let me know how you found it. I'd be interested. First, had the first Thanksgiving of the year. I think I'm just having 2 this year, but did Thanksgiving with the in-laws this weekend. Thanksgiving is a my family holiday in the Wallenberg house here. The roommate's family gets Christmas and my family gets Thanksgiving. So we do we don't try and do like the both in the same day bullshit. We just like give somebody else a weekend. So I love Thanksgiving dinner. Had me one of them drumsticks or wings or whatever you want to call it. Was munching on that. Some apple pie, mashed potatoes, stuffing, gravy. Oh, and I'm going to have some leftovers for dinner this week. And guess what? In a couple more weeks, I get to do it all over again, and it's fantastic. So those of you out there who say Thanksgiving food isn't good, you guys suck. No one needs to listen to you ever. Thanksgiving food rules. It rules, people. And if you got a problem with that, I don't know. I mean, don't come see me or anything. Like I don't want to talk to you. Like if you don't like Thanksgiving food, for those of you who already who already have friendships with that dislike Thanksgiving food, I guess I'm kind of stuck with you. But I'm not trying to start any new friendships with people who don't like Thanksgiving food. So fuck off. So I got a new Wi-Fi modem and router, and modem's not as hard. I mean, it's a pain in the ass for me to set up because I don't have good cell phone service. So I use Wi-Fi to make calls and get on the internet and do all the apps and shit. Well, when they want you to set everything up via an app, that makes it a pain in the ass. But at least once you get the modem going, it's just, plug and play. The router, when you're changing Wi-Fi password and stuff, and you forget how much shit you have connected to Wi-Fi anymore. TVs, iPads, phones, cameras, all this shit is all connected. You're just walking around, changing this, re-signing in that, typing out the same stupid password with 67 different letters and 4 numbers every 3 spaces. Like, it's just a pain in the ass. Like, we are just really tied to Wi-Fi and technology anymore. It's kind of wild, like, how much shit is tied into it. You think about, like, you have it figured out and you don't. And I'm literally talking about this right now, and it's been nice out today, so I've had the wind. Like, it's a beautiful day. And I just remembered that my fucking thermostat is plugged into my Wi-Fi. So that shit ain't working. I'm going to have to go fix that. So, incredible. I mean, we speak about how great the weather was. Trick or Treat was just this past week. The weather was cold as shit. It was so cold. I was sitting on my porch with a blanket over me and a hoodie and a vest and gloves. Good God, it was cold. I'll tell you what. Some of those kids are fucking punks. Like, just absolute dick faces. And then on the other side, some of the kids are sweethearts. Super polite, just very respectful. So, I guess you can't judge everybody by the same, by one group. Because there are some real dickhead little kids out there. And then there's some real just sweethearts who are just very polite, respectful, really, really just being good kids. And then you got just assholes. So, also from the Trick or Treat world, fucking Reese's Cups rule, man. Reese's Cups are probably my favorite candy. That or a Reese's Fast Break. But same theory, chocolate, peanut butter. Get those two fucking mixed up. That's what I'm talking about. That is what I'm talking about. That's the best candy bar, for sure. These people who like Skittles and Starburst and lollipops and crap like that. I mean, the roommate got like a bag of like Starburst and Skittles, and I was like, oh God, really? Why? Like, you get to that house and you're like, this place sucks. Of course, everyone was picking. They were getting down for the Reese's Cups and the Snickers and all the good stuff. And they were left with the Skittles and the Starbucks and all that crap. There were some people out there handing out full-size candy bars. Your boy's poor, so that ain't happening. I'm looking for value here. For just giving away candy one night a year. Bob Knight passed away. R.I.P. Bob Knight. One of the greatest basketball coaches ever. Kind of revolutionized the motion offense. Quite controversial in his own right. I mean, grabbed a player around the neck allegedly, threw a chair across the court. Constant outbursts on the sidelines, screaming at players, officials. Screaming at players isn't the biggest deal in the world, I don't think. My favorite coach I ever had in any sport screamed at me up and down, and I'll tell you to this day, he's the greatest coach I ever had, and I'd swear by him. And, if someone bitches at, says, oh, you yell at a kid too much, fuck off. Like, if you're being constructive with it, you can yell and scream all you want, and, your players love you. And I'll stand by that to this day. He's the best coach I ever had, and he was screaming at me all the time. All the time. Great guy, great coach. So I don't have a problem with that. There were a couple things Bob Knight did that were a little interesting, to say the least. I still think his good probably outweighs his bad. Very revered by almost all of his players. There's always some players that are going to hate you. But, almost all of his players love by him, swear by him. Think he was an incredible coach, an incredible guy. There were lots of people who come out and speaking very highly of him. So while there's definitely some things to nitpick about him, I mean, he demanded perfection and poise and respectfulness and didn't really exhibit it. So I mean, that's a flaw. But there was a lot of good things, and I only hope that they buried him upside down so all his critics could kiss his ass. That's all you can hope for him. I don't know why I don't know what I was doing at the time, but this was one of my notes for this week was, when is it too cold to golf? I don't know what led me to put that in there. I don't even remember doing it, but apparently I was wondering when it is too cold to golf. For me, it's anytime under 50 degrees. I'm really not that interested in playing golf. So, I guess that's all I got. Heard the first Christmas song of the year on November 1st, like the day after Halloween. I was driving to the gym or the store or something, and they were playing fucking Christmas songs. Like, just Chill, man. Chill. Thanksgiving's the best holiday ever. Christmas is moving up in my books because they're playing football on it now. But Thanksgiving's the best. Like, let's not just blow through that. Someone write some fucking Thanksgiving songs. Talking about turkey and booze and food and pies. Gosh, let's just not skip Thanksgiving. It's the best holiday, people. It's the best holiday, for sure. Thanksgiving, best holiday. Book it. Book it. I'm losing my mind about Thanksgiving a lot today. Kind of weird. Not going to lie. I did notice this. I'm drinking some beers yesterday watching football. As is, kind of a normal thing for me on Sunday. And I'm drinking a Dogfish. Their 60-minute IPA. And I think to myself, Dogfish, good beer. Like, my roommate was out at the store. I said, hey, just grab me a 6-3 of an IPA. So I'm drinking the Dogfish, and I think, I love smaller craft beer places. My probably favorite beer in the world came out of a brewery that at the time had just like a storefront tasting room. You could do a little bit of food there. I mean, the place probably held 100 people, maybe. No, not even 100. Maybe 70, 60. I mean, if you jam-packed it, 60 or 70. But a small place. They've since expanded and grown bigger and do more shipping, I think, stuff. But, so I love a good small brewery, and I love going to good small breweries. But, there's going to be spots and beers that are hit or miss there. There is something to the consistency of, a Dogfish, a Lagunitas, something like that. Your larger brand beer companies that, produce a better beer in IPA. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love a Busch Light. I love a Miller Light. Coors Light's not my favorite. Bud Light's never been my favorite. But, there's something to consistency and, always knowing that this one's going to be good. You just go and you're like, yep, this is good. And I guess as many times as anybody else, I grab a random 6-pack and I'm like, I'm going to try it. And sometimes it sucks. It's just bad. There is something to consistency. What else here? Oh, I don't hate daylight savings time. I know it gets dark earlier and that sucks, but it's also not getting light at 7:45. That also sucks. In the winter it's just not bright out very long. That just sucks. So I'm not going to be out here having a strong opinion on daylight savings time. I just don't got nothing. I just don't hate it. Would I prefer it stayed lighter longer? Yeah, absolutely. But the sun thing moves. And we don't have control of that. So sometimes we're going to move it. And yeah, sometimes it gets darker earlier. But I would prefer, and again, time's a weird thing. It gets lighter where I live now earlier in the morning than it did where I lived growing up. In Pennsylvania, northeastern Pennsylvania, the thought of a 6 a.m. tea time is not really a thing. It's just getting light usually, feels like. But out here, it's more of a thing. So you just fucking adjust your time schedule if you want light at different parts of the day. But in the winter, it's just not light that long. Right now it's light from 6:30 to 4:30, 10 hours. In the summer, it's light from 5 a.m. to 9. Just a lot longer, 16 hours. It just happens. All right, let's end with a couple of golf things. First, Eric Van Rooyen, he won some tournament this weekend, whatever it was, but he has a friend dying of cancer and kind of dedicated the win to him, and he gave a very heartfelt speech at the end, very emotional. Something to check out. But the news has been that the PGA Tour has been searching for some capital funding to get involved with the tour and kind of help fund the tour in light of the fact that they'd made this agreement with the PIF, the PIF, the Saudi Investment Fund. And the rumor is that the PGA Tour's talks with the PIF have gone basically nowhere. And there is a 12/31 end date to that framework agreement. It can be extended, and it may. But the tour has also been in touch with 5 groups about coming on and providing investment. The Fenway Sports Group, which owns Boston Red Sox. Where else is it? I took a look here. So the 5 groups. Fenway Sports Group, which is partnered with investors Steve Cohen and Arthur Blank. Steve Cohen owns the Mets. Arthur Blank owns the Falcons. Liberty Strategic Capital, Acorn Growth Companies, Eldridge Industries, and a group of influential individuals being referred to as the Friends of Golf. There was talks that Endeavor, the group that owns WWE and UFC, might be involved. Doesn't seem to be the case. So Fenway Sports Group, Boston Red Sox, Liverpool Football Club in the Premier League. They just recently bought the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they are invested in Boston Common, which is the name of the team Rory McIlroy is captaining in the soon-to-launch TGL Indoor Golf League. By the way, they did a weird thing where Colin Morikawa was like, oh, this is cooler than the Ryder Cup. Pretty fucking stupid. Like, that was what we ripped on Liv about. Like, if you idiots are going to do that shit too, like, that's dumb for you guys to do too. So, dumb. Cohen and Blank also bought TGL teams, I guess. Acorn Growth Companies, which portfolio is largely built on defense and intelligence and aerospace industries. The military-industrial complex, looking to get involved in the PGA Tour. Former CEO of AT&T, Randall Stevenson, is among those that he was on the board of the PGA Tour and resigned in July, citing concerns about working with the Saudis. Liberty Strategic Capital is led by Steve Mnuchin, who was the Secretary of Treasury during the Trump administration. Eldred Industries, headed by Todd Bowley, who owns the Dodgers, as well as part of a consortium that purchased the Premier League's Chelsea Football Club. And the Friends of Golf feature a number of financial titans with a shared love of the game, including Wall Street legends George Roberts and Henry Kravis. Don't know who any of them are. So, very interesting that there seems to be no movement with the tour and the PIF. And it says here that deadline to the framework deal is expected to be pushed deep into 2024. But very interesting that if the PGA Tour goes out and finds funding elsewhere, away from the Saudis, which it seems like they're trying to do, obviously, and something they may want to do, that means the war picks back up. Like, Liv is going to go back to trying to poach people, and, you know, that's a whole other thing. I think it would have been better if this ended, and, you know, this war and fight could go away, and you get the guys playing on the same tour again. If it kind of heats back up again, how much do the Saudis want to just keep pouring into this? Like, I know they've got what seems like an unlimited bank account, but like, and I guess if it's just not that much in the grand scheme of things, but they had shown throughout the, you know, this year that they kind of pulled back the reins a little bit. Do they just want it? Like, Liv is making no money, none. Like, do they just want to keep doing it? They've sold none of these teams, while the TGL has sold all their teams, which is weird. Like, how does one do it and the other doesn't? Like, maybe they just don't want Liv. I don't know. Maybe there's, you know, a freeze out. It's interesting. It's interesting to see if this will wrap up. I think the sooner it's all over, the better. I don't think it'd be a terrible thing if Liv went away. And, I mean, the Saudi Public Investment Fund is going to be out there. Who knows? Who knows? We'll see. We'll see what happens. There's a lot in the air still. I mean, we did an emergency pod the day it happened, and, you know, the general consensus was from some of us, and that was, we don't know what's going to happen, and we still don't fucking know. And that was over 5 months ago. We were going to do a U.S. Open preview, and we ended up doing that instead. So, who knows, man? Who knows? All right, let's go wrap this thing up. Closing time, everybody. Just want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you guys, gals, maybe. I don't know if there's any women. The roommate. Just thank you to everybody who's out there watching, listening, hanging out. I appreciate all you guys for all the support. So thank you so much. As always, thank you to producer Kevin. You know, get this thing put together for me every week. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. So thank you to everybody. Back next week, more football. We're feel some fallout from Penn State, Michigan. You know, maybe there's going to be more golf, you know, insight out here. Who knows? more hockey. We'll just be getting a little check in there. So, as always, thank you to everybody. I'm back next week. Loving it. Looking forward to more. Get your Liquid IV, 20% off. Promo code OWH. Till then, peace.